Good tidings to you, Stoveminders, for you will need it. We are in the depths of winter. The days are short, it's cold outside, and it's stone cold Steve Austin on the stove. Nothing going on, right? Well, not exactly. It's Wednesday, December 23rd, 2020. Happy Festivus for the rest of us. There are a few small-time moves worth talking about, as I will later on in the program, but I want to start on the rumor mill, which has been abuzz. The mill's been spinning as of late regarding pretty much all the big-name free agents and trade chips. But let's start in Cincinnati, Ohio, where a debacle seems imminent. How did it come to this? Why is every good player on this team now being talked about as a trade commodity? Where did all the hype go? Wasn't this Reds team supposed to be really good? Well, let's spin back the wheels of time a little bit to the beginning of my stove minding career, 2018. All right, so during the regular season that year, Reds finished last in the division, missing the postseason for a sixth straight season. But they had good pieces. Joey Votto, Eugenio Suarez, Raisel Iglesias, Luis Castillo, and a top 10 farm system at the time that included top 100 prospects like Jonathan India, Hunter Green, remember him, and Nick Senzel, who in 2018, or the end of the 2018 season, was number 7 in all of baseball, according to MLB Pipeline. So, that winter, 2018-19, relatively new Reds GM Nick Krall, who's still at the helm today, he was appointed to that position in early 2018. Krall pulled off a massive retooling trade, sending salary dump Homer Bailey and prospect Jeter Downs, who then again got traded to the Red Sox from Mookie Betts and David Price. And wow, what a career. In exchange for 3 solid players, all entering the final years of their contract. Matt Kemp, who was a disaster, Alex Wood, who was hurt for most of his time in Cincinnati, and Yasiel Puig. And not done there, Krall also swung prospect outfielder Shed Long for right-handed pitcher Sonny Gray, then coming off a difficult stint with the Yankees and who was under contract through 2022. Now for Puig, he got into a lot of trouble in a Reds uniform, but he also played well enough for the Reds and Krall to flip Yasiel at the 2019 trade deadline, selling him upstate to Cleveland in exchange for Trevor Bauer, then with an extra year of team control. And they also shipped out another high-ranked prospect outfielder, Taylor Trammell, in that deal. By the end of 2019, things weren't looking that much better for the Reds. They finished 4th in the division and were still a below 500 squad. But there was even more hype due to the all-star season that Luis Castillo put up and the emergence of rookie Aristides Aquino. What the fuck happened to him? Thus, the winter of 2019-20 ended up being a huge one for Cincinnati. They signed infielder Mike Moustakas and outfielder Nicholas Castellanos, both to 4-year contracts worth $64 million. Big additions to the lineup. Experienced players, World Series winning players like Moustakas, and hit machines, double machines like Castellanos. And the Reds bolstered their pitching staff last winter as well, adding Wade Miley and Pedro Strop, and they took a chance on Japanese outfielder Shogo Akiyama on a 3-year deal. All of a sudden, these Reds looked serious. They had a swagger to them. A lot of people were saying they were going to win the NL Central in 2020, but they only finished 31-29. Yeah, it was a weird year. They still made the expanded postseason, where they were outscored 6-0 in a 2-game sweep courtesy of the Atlanta Braves. During the 2020 season, Cincy was something of a joke, with the lineup that was last in the NL in hits and batting average, while their pitching staff led the league in strikeouts and had the second lowest ERA and hits allowed. Buoyed by a Cy Young season for Trevor Bauer, a Cy nominated one for Sonny Gray, not to mention what they got out of Castillo, closer Iglesias, Tyler Mahle, also in the rotation, and reliever Amir Garrett. So what now? What could the Reds do? Do they hold faith in a roster that looks good, but has underachieved to the tune of almost $130 million in payroll in 2020, which is a big deal? Cincinnati is not a big market. They are a historic team, but it's not a huge city. They have to compete with Cleveland in Ohio. A lot of Reds fans in Kentucky, I guess. Congratulations. That's like a top 10 payroll. And with all MLB franchises in the dark as far as finances, hesitant to commit money and all that, the Reds, they've taken the ulterior approach, jettison, dumped it off board. We need to make room. We need to get rid of all this money. It started at the non-tender deadline with the cutting of reliever Archie Bradley, who they acquired in a trade in 2020, backup catcher Kurt Casale, and second-string outfielder Brian Goodwin. Okay, fair enough. Then they traded longtime closer Raisel Iglesias to the Angels for a mid-reliever in Noe Ramirez, who hasn't been consistently good, and a player to be named later. Word was they're not in on Bauer, now a free agent due to his high asking price. And now, Nick Krall has his hands full with trade talks surrounding what seems like all of their best players. Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, Eugenio Suarez, and even Mike Moustakas have all come up in the rumor mill. Wow. Let's break it down, because this has been accelerating over the last week or two. Suarez, who's been hitting home runs like a motherfucker and is controllable through 2024, is on the Washington Nationals radar. And word is the Nats are willing to send fellow third baseman Carter Kieboom, former top prospect who has yet to break out, over to Ohio. That'd be an interesting deal, but not done yet. Castillo would surely net the biggest return out of all these guys. He looks like an ace already, but I think it would take a combination of desperation and a huge return to move Castillo. Gray has been floating around. He's got lots of interest, with the Padres in particular lately have been trying to pry Sonny Gray over to the West Coast. He has 2 years remaining under contract and is coming off an excellent 2-year stint with the Reds. He seems more likely to be traded than not at the moment. And Moustakas, he's been mentioned a little bit. It would be weird to see him get moved just 1 year after signing a 4-year contract. But that's the issue with trade talks. Oftentimes, general managers, they're just seeing what they can get for these players. Just because a player is mentioned in the trade rumors doesn't mean he's bound to be traded. Front offices are just seeing, okay, what can we get for this? Maybe it's a lot of stuff, and maybe that's a move you got to pull. But that's the situation in Cincinnati. Could there be a fire sale on the Ohio River? Or is it all just bluster from Krall and company? Well, let's get to some more rumors from around the baseball world, starting with Japanese standout pitcher Tomoyuki Sugano, who's gained a lot of interest from the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, the Rangers, and now the Mets, exploring a potential consolation prize if they can't get Bauer, or if they decided that they can't afford both Bauer and George Springer, because the outfielder Springer, one of the top free agent bats on the market, seems to be down to the Mets and the Blue Jays as his top suitors. What about money horse JT Realmuto? Well, the Washington Nationals are looking into it, which would be a huge vote of confidence after a disappointing hungover 2020 where they needed offensive help. That said, Realmuto has no shortage of courtiers, from the Phillies, desperate to bring him back, and of course, the Toronto Blue Jays, as their general manager Ross Atkins is in blitz mode this winter. The Jays are now considered significant players in talks around DJ LeMahieu. Wouldn't that be a coup? Yu Darvish has also been discussed. A lot of anxiousness regarding what the Cubs will do in this crossroads of an offseason, and while talks are just talks, it is intriguing how much you could net in a trade coming off an excellent year-and-a-half run. Moving down to Texas, where the Rangers are in rebuild mode, it would make a lot of sense for them to trade Joey Gallo at some point. He is available now and has 2 years left on his contract. Considering their assets, Gallo would be the last big chip remaining in Arlington if they're trying to go for that full rebuild strategy. And how about former Rangers top prospect Jurickson Profar from the Ashes Rises of Phoenix? Former bust coming off a breakout 2020. He has both the Padres, with whom he played last year, and the Royals after his services. Speaking of the Kansas City Royals, how about general manager Dayton Moore? He has also spoken with veteran right-hander Adam Wainwright. Well, that about wraps up the rumor roundup. Nice to hear a lot of whispers going around, but there were also actual deals that went down this past week. And with Christmas and all that coming up, I just wanted to get these off the table, have a clean slate in case a Christmas surprise comes, like last year, if you remember, Christmas Day, Hyun-Jin Ryu signed his contract with the Blue Jays. Anyway, starting with the Dodgers, the defending World Series champions, they have signed right-handed relief pitcher Tommy Kahnle. Kahnle? I think it's Kahnle. 2 years with a maximum value of $5.25 million. And all that depends on where he is in his rehab from old Tommy John. See, Kahnle is expected to be out all of 2021. But when he does return, he could be a bullpen weapon for the Dodgers. Kahnle was pretty good in his last full season, which was 2019 with the Yankees. LA hoping he can be a Nathan Eovaldi or Michael Pineda type recovery project, sign him to a 2-year deal, spend the first year recovering, come back year 2 and pitch well. And it's worth mentioning that both Kenley Jansen and Joe Kelly are both free agents after 2021. That's a couple of big bullpen pieces for the Dodgers. So if both those guys leave in free agency or even just one, it'll be useful to have somebody with the upside of Kahnle coming in. Coming up to Boston. The Red Sox have signed right-handed pitcher Matt Andriese to a 1-year deal plus an option. It's guaranteed $2.1 million and can max out at $7.35 million. Well, the swingman Andriese is exactly what the Red Sox need. A lot of holes and question marks in their pitching cabinet. Andriese hasn't been great in his 6-year career, but his rising strikeout rate and above-average spin rate are what led Boston to take a chance on him. And over in San Francisco, where the Giants and GM Farhan Zaidi have made a bunch of low-key moves, they've now added right-handed relief pitcher Matt Brebbia on a 1-year contract worth $800,000. What's the deal here? Well, Brebbia missed all of 2020 due to injury, but in 3 seasons prior with the St. Louis Cardinals, Brebbia posted a collective ERA and FIP in the 3s, the low 3s for that matter, an ERA plus of 132, high strikeout numbers, and low home run totals. That's low risk, high reward for the Giants. Goes in with their style, but they won't have Brebbia until probably the summer, as he just had Tommy John surgery this past June. And in retirement news, infielder Howie Kendrick has called it a career after 15 seasons in the majors. Tip of the cap to him. Kendrick will forever be in the minds of Nationals fans for the work he did in the 2019 championship run of theirs. And he also played a lot of ball in SoCal, the Dodgers and the Angels. A consistent contact hitter, Howie Kendrick, bye-bye. And to finish off, a quick update on the Cubs. What's going on in Chicago? A bunch of minor league deals. Depth signings, essentially. But some names you might recognize, such as outfielder Phillip Ervin. Was on the Reds for 3 seasons where he hit .262 with a .764 OPS. As a secondary outfielder, Cubs need backup outfielders. Here comes Phillip Ervin. And they also signed infielder Matt Duffy, a contact first hitter with high walk totals. He's a career .282 hitter with a .338 on base. Duffy's had some good seasons with the Rays and the Giants, with whom he finished second in Rookie of the Year voting in 2015. I really like this one. If they can get sort of peak Duffy or the higher end of Duffy's range of performance, that's kind of exactly what the Cubs need. A guy that can get on base and get hits. No fancy schmancy home run bullshit. And a bunch of pitchers who I've never heard of. That's what's going on with the Cubs. And I just want to throw in at the very end here, Tampa Bay Rays owner Stuart Sternberg is adamant about playing in Montreal. Why? It's going to be a logistical nightmare to switch, not just cities, switch countries in the middle of the season to go from one aging dome to an even older dome turf field stadium, which whatever, you know what, that's just aesthetic considerations. I have it on good authority, and by that I mean anecdotes, that Olympic Stadium sucks, especially for baseball. It was built as an Olympic stadium, as an ovular stadium. It's not great for baseball, but that's what they have in Montreal, and they sunk so much money into that thing. I can't imagine, and knowing just how these sort of public projects work in Canada, it would take them years to finalize a new ballpark in Montreal. It'd be cool. I love that city. I think the fans deserve some sort of a ball team, even like a minor league team. Just give it to them, right? But with their mafia municipal government, that would be difficult to decide. But they have a paisan, I guess, in Stuart Sternberg, who's willing to send the Rays up there for half the year. You know what the problem is? Tropicana Field is in a shitty location. It's in St. Petersburg, which is a peninsula away from Tampa. It's a mess to get there, and it's not exactly a great-looking park either. That's the issue there. I feel like if they built a stadium closer to Tampa, but maybe that they can't get that either. I understand the Rays have a lease there until, I believe, 2028, but Sternberg's been saying he envisions this whole Montreal project to start or to be going through then. So after the Rays would have an opportunity to move to a better location, better looking stadium in the Tampa Bay area, he would still want them to be playing in Montreal. Why? It's dumb. A lot of professional sports team owners just seem to walk around with asses on their heads. It disappoints me. But I hope you're not disappointed with 2020 coming to a close and 2021 on the horizon. Let's see what goes down hot stove-wise. Let's see what you get as far as Christmas. See what you get as far as Festivus. We've got other holidays coming up. Shout out to all my Viets. Tet is coming up. Shout out to all my Jews. Nobody celebrates Kwanzaa. Let's just stop that whole charade. And Happy New Year. And in January, a happy Orthodox Christmas as well. As for now, keep minding that stove. Who knows what might pop up as a Christmas surprise in the next few days. Bye-bye.